welcome, everybody. Welcome to the channel. You guys are going to have to excuse me. We will be broadcasting in a different part of the residence today. Girl, I done fell off the floor and my back is jacked up, so excuse me. I want to welcome each and every one of you over to over here to the women's panel. This is one of the few things that I have not accomplished on these YouTube streets, and that was getting on here and talking about a topic with a gang of like-minded women and just talking with y'all about something that matters. On Friday, I told y'all that I didn't believe in the beef section. I mean that, and in proving that, I wanted to give y'all the 15 for me to go the way I know how, and that's by coming down into and discussing something that is very vital, something that is really going on in the world outside the window, and for some of you, even inside your home. I have compiled a panel for women who are awesome, something in my opinion. We're going to discuss the topic of mental illness and some aspects thereof. On the panel tonight will be, before I do this, Andrea. Andrea? Who is the Andrea here? My sound is off. Somebody just said my sound is off. Hold on, guys. Let me know if it gets better. What about now? Is it better? Hold on. What about now? Is it sound better? Is it better now? Miss Adelina saying no. Only Miguel says yes. So the sound is still off. Hold on. Let me try one more thing. Okay, is my sound better now? It's okay now? Okay. Joining me on the panel tonight to discuss some aspects of mental illness will be, first of all, Miss Shawn Sanders. I will be dropping Miss Sanders' channel link for you all to go over and subscribe. She does a plethora of things from reviews. She talks about her travel. She talks about diet and exercise. You guys will really enjoy her. Welcome, Miss Shawn Sanders.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Lady Nika. Mods in chat. Hello.
That sound again. Okay, it's off again, y'all. Don't tell me I got to change devices. Denaya says it sound worse. Okay, well, let me bring everybody on the panel, then I'll come out and maybe it'll get better. Welcome to the panel, Miss T. Velocity, Miss Melissa King.
She's muted.
Hello. You sound better.
Lady Detroit. Okay.
Hello, everyone. You sound good now, Nika.
And Bruno.
I think she's going to come back in.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, she's going to come back in.
Hello, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Me too.
Okay.
Okay, can everybody hear now? Does it sound okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
she okay.
ma'am.
Hmm.
Okay. Thank y'all for joining us through our technical difficulties. I apologize. I've learned that from what I was told by a bigger YouTuber. YouTube is reconfiguring. They moved to a different software, and they're supposed to be reconfiguring our voices through this software. And then I'm using StreamYard too, so I don't know if that's a part of the problem as well. But we're gonna try our best to get through this. I hope you all are prepared to listen, learn, and open your hearts. I don't want any disrespect, please, tonight in the chat toward the panelists or in the chat. I just want you guys to be good to each other today, okay? Please. Now, let me make sure that I'm good on the sound before I start. Is the sound okay?
It's clear.
I hear you fine.
Me too.
It's clear. Okay. You hear me fine? Okay. Okay. Well, again, like I was saying, y'all, I'm a little impaired because I fell off this horse. I'm fine, honey. I just bruised the rib, but I'm gonna get through this the best way I know how. Thank you, Lady Key. Thank you, baby. That's the person letting me know that everything is okay. Now, I wanted to discuss mental health with you guys today, and I made a couple of notes. I did some research because I want to be as thorough as I possibly can. Now, before I begin this commentary, I am not a healthcare professional at all. Okay. I'm not a healthcare professional. This is just a conversation that I'm having about a topic that is near and dear in our community, and I wanted to bring it to the forefront today. Now, by definition, mental illness is also called mental health disorders, referring to a wide range of mental health conditions and disorders that affect your mood, thinking, and your behavior. Examples of mental illness include depression, anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, eating disorders, and addictive behaviors. Some of the things I want to dig into tonight is depression relating to physical health, signs and symptoms that are common in the Black community that are not seen in other races. I want to also touch on trauma and depression. And if we have time at the end of this broadcast, if toward the end, if I got time, we will drop the link because I think it let a couple people on here, and we'll try to answer whatever questions you may have. Again, Miles, please make sure that we keep this very respectful tonight. Okay, we can get a little rowdy in the den sometime, but tonight I'm asking for us to put that aside for the better good of the conversation. I've compiled a panel of women who I think will work well with this subject. And I want to start off with this right here. In my opinion, the government failed us, and it started around the 80s during the Reagan era when he decided to defund mental health services for a lot of people. A lot of institutions that were providing services from either inpatient, outpatient care, counseling, medications, all that, those people London. And in losing funding, a lot of people didn't have nowhere to go. Also, in our a lot of us go through things. I like to call it trauma. And oftentimes you do not something or get the help you need to talk it out, maybe take the medicine if it includes that. It you carry that. And in our community, a person speaking on anything dealing with mental health have always been a taboo subject in our communities because we feel like if you say that your ticker, your mind is not working right, or you feel in a certain way and you can't beat that feeling, it's always been deemed as a bad thing. Like it's taboo. Like, and I feel like your brain is just as important as your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, anything else. If that thing malfunction, we're gonna run down there to the hospital. Well, if you're not feeling okay, if you're not able to shake a feeling that is not working for you, that's detrimental to your body, of course you need to go get help. But again, because it's been a subject that Black people don't really like to talk about, to talk about. Oftentimes it goes undiagnosed and in some cases unmedicated. And I wanted to talk about some of the things dealing with depression as it relates to physical health. And to start this conversation off, I am going to start with Miss Sean Sandridge and let her speak on what she may want to offer in that. And then we'll go to Miss T Velocity, Blue Lotus, Lady Detroit, then Miss Melissa King. At this time, Miss Sean, you can weigh in what you think about that. What do you want to add to it?
Well, I think you are 100% correct. I believe that there is a stigma. Where we having a feedback? Did you hear? I'm getting feedback. Did you hear any feedback?
I heard it. I heard it also.
Okay.
I heard it.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure where it's coming from. I didn't open up any more windows, but I believe it's 100% correct. And Lady Nika, you and I spoke through the chat. With my videos, I'm a real proponent about health and wellness, and I did get some stats. And you guys can look it up through the National Alliance on Mental Health. I'll probably mention this a couple of times, but about health and wellness. They said people with depression have a 40% higher risk of developing cardiovascular metabolic diseases than the general population. People with serious mental health are nearly twice as likely to develop these conditions. And I guess it goes without saying, mental illness and substance use disorders are involved in 1 out of every 8 emergency department visits in the U.S. So we all know that mental health, even diagnosed and self-medicating with things that are not prescribed, because as you say, across the board, a lot of our mental health has been cut. Those agencies and all of those type of health advocacies have been cut in many areas where our people are suffering because the poor neighborhoods, the urban neighborhoods are not getting those treatments. I live in Indiana. Next door is Chicago. I see it all the time. There was a big issue, and unfortunately, when the government is looking to cut, that is one of the first things they want to cut. They want to cut what's called ancillary treatment. But I think we need to remove the stigma because, like you said, the brain is one thing that we don't get to know our numbers, right? We know our numbers for cholesterol, high blood pressure. What numbers make us go to the doctor? There are no numbers for our brain health. And I think that more advocacy needs to be touched on that. And then culturally, we need to be able to remove that stigma and know that you can get some help with your brain. That's all I want to say for now.
Okay, now we'll hear from Miss T Velocity.
Turn my mic up. Thank you. I like to piggyback off that, but I want to get more in depth to the African American race and the mental illness. Statistically proven, a lot of the demographic areas we come from, we incur different traumas. And because of that, and because of the economical and the social injustice, we suffer the most and is on the rise. But we have been always taught to sweep things under the carpet because of the stigma attached to mental illness. We don't go and seek professional help. And it's on the increase. And it's going to continue to climb only because the social and economical injustice. And it's sad because even though some of the funding has been cut and some people aren't, I think they don't have health insurance. There are still resources out there. We did have quite a bit of the funding cut. However, there are still resources. And because the lack of knowledge, people don't reach out to those resources. And a lot of times they are kept from our communities, the African American community. But the stigma is what we have to deal with. We need to make sure that we say that it's okay if you're suffering depression. But first of all, people need to know the signs of depression. So we can get into that a little later because there are deep signs. There are several signs to let a person know that they're falling in the pit of depression. And then from that point, you want to talk to somebody and seek help. But until we really, and it's going to continue to grow, because I don't believe in my whole heart of hearts that there ever be economical and social justice for the African American race. So we will continue to suffer mental illness because that's systemic. That's systemic. So it's done from there. My take on it. That's my take on it.
Okay, Blue Lotus.
Okay. I just want to. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on right quick, just for a few minutes. There are also some mental illnesses that are hereditary, which are such genetic factors that links us to autism, ADHD, bipolar, and major depressive disorder, as well as
I agree.
schizophrenia, disorder, major depressive disorder, because that is what I suffer from. I will probably get dragged for this, but oh well. I suffer from major depressive disorder. I have for many years, many years. I I'm fortunate enough that I was able to get help for this, and it's not a stigma in my family. I do believe that these stigmas are socio-economical, and I think that makes the difference. You also have, I know, probably in the family, there's a great uncle or aunt who people talked about were weird, and they probably had some sort of mental illness, but the denial was is there. And as a person who suffers from major depression, it is not anything that you can snap out of. You cannot snap out of. You can live with it, and you can be healthy, but you can't just snap out of it. You can't snap out of depression, schizophrenia, autism, bipolar. You cannot, you can't snap out of these things. These are conditions, some of which are chemical imbalances in our brains. So we really need to be able to, number one, educate ourselves as a community. And I also want to mention that our mental health society got bad during Reaganomics. Now, some people know what Reaganomics is and some people don't. But that is when mental health crisis just got completely out of hand, in my opinion. And that's all I'll say for now.
And the drugs came in.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what we do. Sometimes we're in denial or we don't understand what's wrong and we turn to drugs. So that is a big problem.
Would it be safe to say, though, in retrospect, you seek help, and because it is a chemical imbalance and it can be hereditary, but I think if people seek help, they can give you medication to try to balance the chemicals in your brain. It's just that you have to continue to take them. A lot of people get sometime like a euphoric feeling or some type of side effect and they just quit taking them. You can't do that. Whenever you're on a medication and it involves with balancing your brain, you have to continue to take that medication. And so I think because we don't
Right.
seek treatment, we can't control the imbalancement of the brain. So yes, it could be hereditary, but you also have to seek professional help. And a lot of people don't seek professional help.
Right.
Right.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, LadyNyca, for discussing this topic as well as I want to piggyback off of everything you ladies have said. Nika's absolutely correct. When Reagan took office in approximately around 1984, and the reason why I know 1984 in particular is because I'm sorry, as I have
Hold
as I
on
have
one
told
minute.
you,
1 minute. We got back up here. I don't know where it's coming. Everybody go mute that. Okay, go ahead, Simone. It went away. I'm gonna go
okay,
mute too until you're finished.
okay. In 1984, and the reason why I remember that year specifically was because that's the year my grandmother passed, and I was a little girl. I was about 10 years old, roughly, and I remember them cutting the mental health services and general assistance. And my uncle, who I've shared numerous times on panels, is a paranoid schizophrenic. He had to slowly, they kicked him out the institution he was in, and he was sent to my grandmother's house. Well, the problem was for years, my uncle has been paranoid schizophrenic and had mental issues since he was a teenager. And people would tell my grandmother this, but my grandmother was in denial. That was her only son, and she just did not want the stigma. Stigma, what gets stuck with having a child that was like him. My uncle would, he never failed the IQ test, but he would do things that are very questionable. And so I say that all to because my uncle did a lot of things that would just drive my grandmother crazy. And she ended up having a heart attack behind trying to get him help and trying to get services for him. And my uncle, for years, suffered through it. He needed to be in a mental institution. And then I had my son. And when I had my son, I first started having issues with my son at about 5 years old. And everybody would say, oh, well, he's just the only child. That's spoiled syndrome. But I started noticing he had behavioral issues. So the first thing I did as a parent was I jumped on it right away when I started noticing it. And I did seek the services for my son. And he was diagnosed with bipolar at the age of 7 and obedience defiance disorder at that age.
Mm-hmm.
So by the fact that I had excellent insurance and the fact that I saw and I didn't want to make the same mistakes my grandmother made, I made sure my son got the help that he needed. And I'm not gonna lie to anyone. I was just like my grandmother at first. I was in denial. I was, didn't want to be shamed for the things that was, that comes along with your kid having the issue. But I started seeing things in my son that would just be, one day he'll be fine, the next minute he'll be crying. And so I had to make sure he got help. And the problem is if you don't have anyone there that's going to help you, or you don't have anyone once they get 18, they're on their own. You can't give them their medicines at that point. You can't force them to take their medicines. They're really on their own at that age. So it is really hard to get help with mental health because they make it extremely hard to continue services for them. And I used to have to fight like hell to get my son in the institution. One time my son really had a breakdown and he had to be about the age of 11 or 12. And because I had too much insurance, I made too much money or I wasn't poor enough. I had a hard time getting my son into a facility to get him help. So they just don't make it easy anyway for you to get help for your family members. So I wanted to share that and say everything that you all said, I've dealt with that period firsthand. And everything you ladies have said all plays a role in it. So I'll start off with that. You have to unmute, Miss Melissa.
Thank you for telling me that. I was saying I was really glad when Lady Nika said she was doing this topic because, like I told her, this is something that's like hits very close to home for me. Just like Blue Lotus, I have suffered with depression since I was a teenager, and there have been a couple of times where I actually was suicidal. Um, we do have a family history of it. My brother, my younger brother, he is bipolar and schizophrenic, and my mom's sister is bipolar and schizophrenic. My mom is paranoid, but you can't tell her nothing. So we all just kind of know how to deal with her. But it's so hard to get people to talk about it, and you have so many people that think the answer is praying about it. I can tell you, I done prayed and prayed and prayed, but the Lord made medicine for a reason. So my thing is with myself, I can always feel when things are going left. And I just kind of go ahead and be proactive because I've been on medications, say maybe 20 years. I've been on antidepressants. And it's like sometimes you get busy, you forget, or you might miss a couple of days because you're on vacation or whatever. You can tell the difference because it is a chemical imbalance. And that's how I try to look at it. I tell people, I'm not embarrassed by it because it's not anything that I did. I was born this way. So, that's one of the things I want people to realize. It's not your fault. You don't have to be embarrassed to tell people you see a counselor or a psychiatrist. I see mine every 3 months. And, my brother, I've seen firsthand, and I can sympathize with you, Lady Detroit, because my parents have had to deal with my younger brother since he was 18. That's when he finally just had his breakdown. He's 38 now. So for the last 20 years, we have gone through hell trying to get him straightened out. And it's very stressful on the caregiver, it's stressful on the family members. And you have to keep in mind that, and I think that this is the hardest part, keeping in mind that all of the crazy, or I hate to say crazy, but in our family, we just kind of keep it real. All of the behavior stuff, you just have to realize that whatever they're saying or whatever actions they're doing, like my brother hears voices. Sometimes he'll hear 6 or 7 voices at one time. And my dad, the good part is my dad has his doctorate in nursing. And his focus at one point was behavioral health. So it was good to have him since he had the background to know what to do. But for the average person that doesn't know how to treat it or doesn't know what's going on, you will lose your mind yourself trying to take care of somebody like that. Now, recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, we had put him in a group home, but it's like the group home isn't far from us. We can go we haven't been able to go get him during the COVID because technically, when he went into the group home, he's now property of the state, and they were not allowing them to come out. So we haven't seen him since probably March. But we can call, we can check on it. But it's just like you were saying, Lady Nika. My thing is I tell people all the time, if you break a bone, they can put a cast on it. If you have cancer, they can treat it. When your mind is broken, it's not really a whole lot you can do. And people don't want to be bothered with you. They quick to throw you in jail or just lock you up somewhere and forget about you. But I have to remind people that's somebody's mother, daughter, sister, whatever. And I guess when you don't have it in your family, you don't think about it that way. So I'm just glad to be a part of the family and get to share some of my experiences and things that helped and things that didn't help.
Let me take myself off of me. Okay, for me, this is where this is what happened with me in my situation, and how it did. I wanted to talk about how it, when I first realized there was a problem, I found out because of some issues that were going on with my health. Okay, I was always, for one, I just my social skills were off. And then I started to always have these headaches. And from the head, and I'm talking about as young as 12 years old, I would have these headaches. And I will always, I know that me being, a Virgo baby, we cry a lot. We sensitive people. We will cry on you in a heartbeat, but I was extra sensitive to every single thing. Everything felt like a personal attack against me. Um, and I didn't like people touching me. I didn't want nobody to touch me. Teachers, I done got into it, y'all. I done been down to the gym and the teacher just went to touch me for height and weight purposes doing, when they used to do that in school. And I would when that man touched me, we had a substitute teacher, I'll never forget. He just touched me one time. I lost my complete mind. I would always want to be isolated to myself, and I was an introvert, real bad. I didn't want nobody saying nothing to me, and any little thing you say to me, I took it as a personal attack, and I kept headaches. Well, I told my auntie about that for years, and she didn't pay attention to that. It was only when I got with my husband, my ex-husband, that I started to learn a little bit about what was going on inside of me. I have been holding it instead of me telling somebody. Well, in order for me to explain this, I'm gonna have to tell you the story. Okay, growing up, I went through molestation from my mother's boyfriend. When I first went to tell my grandmother about it, I was told, don't say nothing. Just stay away from him. Stick up under me. Now, how the hell are you supposed to stick under a person 24 hours, 7 days a week? That's summertime include, I had to be around him. How is it possible for me to still be a child and have to stay up under my grandmother 24 hours just because he was home and she didn't want it ever to be a moment where I was caught by myself? Imagine what that feel like. And we're gonna loop this thing around. It kind of going everywhere, but this my heart telling me to go with it, and I'm gonna listen to it. When my grandmother told me to don't say nothing, I felt like my world crashed. Because here's a person that when I couldn't run to my mama, I was supposed to be able to go tell my grandmother, and she would protect me. She had protected me. If some of you recall, I told a story about being a young girl going into the Rubenstein store and going in through the white entrance and not the colored people entrance. And I told you how my grandmother stood up for me then. For this woman who was willing to be hurt by a group of white people over her granddaughter, here I am now telling you somebody's doing something to me and you ain't got my back. So in my mind, it's my fault. That's why she ain't taking care of me. That's why she ain't riding out hard for me. And I held that in for years. I felt like I was at fault. And in feeling like I was at fault, that played in my head all the time. So I would cry about it all the time because I always wanted to be good. I wanted to, whatever was wrong when I was a little girl that made him do that, that was my fault. I got to fix this. In my head, you got to better yourself. You can't don't say nothing, just kind of like exist, but don't live. That's what was causing the headache. That had my attitude messed up. But I would have continued on being that type of person had somebody not reached me and took me to get some help. I'm telling y'all, the reason why I wanted to do this panel is because a lot of these mental situations, a lot of time, you don't realize you having a mental breakdown of sorts. Your mind is not working well because you think that it's you. You think you fine because the conditions that you were raised around, you were made to feel like that's normal. It's not normal. And I started having a lot of anxiety attacks, doctor visits, all of that. Everything stemmed back to when this man violated me when I was 8. Everything that went wrong with me was how I treated people, how I interacted with people, how I would not give people a second chance. All them things went back to what he took me through. And it took somebody outside of my family to help me realize that the way I saw the world was not the way I supposed to see the world. And it made me go get help. And do y'all know how many people walking around here right now, victims of trauma, still living in trauma today? The trauma ain't still happening really in their everyday life, but they still living that trauma every day. I lived that trauma for almost 25 years before I was able to put a pinpoint on why. And during that time, I had a proclivity to go to jail. I say arguing with folks. Now here it is. I don't want to deal with you, but I am steady doing things to get myself in trouble while I have to deal with the world. I thought people was just coming for me. I felt like everybody was against me. I didn't know how to. It took me a long time to process it. I was having kids and everything, and I was still just so tore up. And if I had not gone and talked to a healthcare professional, I would never have realized that everything that I was doing, every day, the way I act, the way I think, the way I walk, the way I dress, all of that was related back to that moment when my grandmother didn't defend me, and I thought. See, that trauma, it's a lot of trauma sometimes in mental illness. A lot of it. Something happened to people and you just never realize. You think you over it, but inside you're not over it. I thought I was all right. Once I was separated from that man and I didn't have to live in the house with him no more, I thought I was fine. No, I was not okay. It took me many years after that for me to realize that I was not okay. And I want to have this conversation tonight, even though it's all over the place right about now, because I done went by 10 different subjects. But y'all, it's so important to look inside of yourself and recognize that it ain't the world. It just might be you. You know what I mean? Is anybody on this panel able to understand really where I'm coming from with this?
I totally
Where I'm going with
Absolutely.
that about the trauma? Because I mean, so even now when I discuss it with certain people, folks be like, but I know I'm not crazy. I know I'm not alone. And it's because I went and had that conversation. And I still see a therapist. Don't get it twisted. I ain't just together like this. No, I'm not. I still struggle every day to not feel like I'm the enemy. It's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
I book so hard to try to make sure that it's not me. Because I'm still processing. Here I am at 48, almost 48 years old, y'all. I still am trying to work through some of that I endured. Just because he ain't penetrate me, don't mean that he takes something from me. And I feel like he did. I talk a lot to my therapist. Rona has us on Zoom, and I really have the time to go through. I got some feedback, y'all.
Oh my God, terrible feedback.
I still have a lot of that inside of me. 48 years. Yeah, it's bad feedback. Is everybody on mute? Okay, is it gone now? Okay. Trauma is at the root of mental illness, even when it can impact a person for a lifetime. You're absolutely right. I am sitting telling you that I am 40, almost 48. I'm 48 years old. And I still battle with it. I still feel some kind of way. I still think that way, and the tears just won't stop. I think it is affecting me in my relationship. We talk about how I am on this channel, but I run. Like if a person gets too close to me, I take off in a heartbeat. I'm not willing to let it in. Huh? Is it bad?
Yeah, it's you. It's you. Your voice is
Okay.
I think it's
You want to
still.
go out and come back in,
It's
Nika?
me.
Yeah, you speeding up. I'll take
Yeah.
over while you
Yeah,
go
I'm
out.
gonna go out and come back. Okay,
being being Nika's best friend,
okay,
I
go
can
ahead.
attest to that because Nika, it took her the longest to get used to adjusting to me. And I mean, right now, you couldn't even say anything. We like sisters. I mean, we like sisters. But Nika, it took her the longest time to open up. She was scared to be friends. You know, I had to sit down and tell her, Nika, I'm not the bad person. I'm here. I've had your back. I don't know what else I can do for you if you won't allow me to, if you won't let me in. And she finally broke down and did. And I understand her trauma because I have to share with her. I've told this story several times. My brother was murdered in front of me. I witnessed my brother being murdered. And I explained that was the time I had a mental breakdown. I had I lost everything with that. When my brother was murdered in front of me, every time I'm telling you I could hear a noise and I would jump. I just kind of lost it. I had to actually go get placed on medicine. I had to I had to go through a lot. And even though now I still go to therapy, and it's been some several years, 10 plus years that my brother's been gone. And I can understand what she's saying when she says that trauma can have an effect. I didn't know at first that I had issues, but I was sitting in the house. I wouldn't go outside. I was scared of the world. And I'm that way with my kids, and especially my son. I have one son, and I'm so protective of my son that I find myself getting to the point where I have to put back off because I'm so scared that my black son is going to get killed because I saw my brother get murdered. So I totally understand when she said trauma because to this day, I just am now at the stage where I could talk about it without actually breaking down crying. So trauma played a part on me, and I tell people I was so stigmatized, and I heard so many things that when they wanted to put me on medicine, I wouldn't at first take the medicine because I was like, I don't need that medicine. I'm not depressed. But I was in a bad, deep depression. And I didn't know that that was one of the signs of depression. And I'm not going to lie, when I got on the medicine, I did start to feel better, but I was scared to share that with people. I didn't want people talking about me. I didn't want people thinking I was crazy. So I know what you were saying, Melissa, about depression, because I think ever since my brother's murder, I've been in a ongoing depression, in and out. It goes in and out. Sometimes I don't have it. Sometimes I do. But I do. One thing I do is see a therapist and a psychiatrist. So I just wanted to say that.
I know for
Um,
me personally, what people don't understand, like all my life, people be like, well, what are you sad about? You got a good life, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what people don't understand is it's not about I feel bad. You don't even know what's wrong with you. You just know you don't feel right, you know? So it's like when you try to explain it to somebody, if they haven't gone through it, they just don't get it, you know? So I
And
think,
Melissa, I think that's one of the problems as well, is that we are so afraid to share with someone because we don't know how they will receive us sharing the information. So we hold that information in and we suffer silently because
mm-hmm,
medication is a big factor and
yeah,
you do need medication. I know a lot of people don't like medication, but there's a purpose for medication. Plus, you need to learn how to deal with it in general. And talking is a part of the process. So
right.
therapy is a part of the process. So they both correlate and you have to do those things. And people are afraid to let people know that something is bothering them mentally because you'll be called crazy. Remember crazy? Oh, he's crazy. She's crazy.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
People are afraid to express and allow other people. And if you go to the doctor and people know you seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist, what they do? Oh, she crazy. So it's so many stigmas
It is.
attached to mental illness. It makes people hard It's hard for people to deal with it, to come out and let somebody know that they suffer, so they suffer silent, and that's could be a killer for them.
What I will say is most jobs, I don't know if everybody knows it, but every job I've been on, they have something called, I forget what it's called, but you can go through your HR and it'll give you like 3 visits for free
Yeah.
to see a counselor.
Just,
So
yeah.
like if you tell you, you can use it when you're overwhelmed at work, if there's something going on at home. So it's fine.
Yeah, what I wanted to piggyback is First Lady Detroit. I'm so sorry for your loss. But one of the things, but I always believe in divine order, and even though Lady Nyca stepped out and she thinks that we're all over the place, it really is all coming in with a nice free flow. So I was writing down that one thing with our in our community that we don't address is PTSD. Now, I'm a military person, and of course, everybody knows about PTSD being in the military. But you don't have to
Right.
be in Afghanistan or Baghdad to experience PTSD. Any act of violence or any kind of trauma is PTSD. And I'll give you just
Right.
what you're saying, Melissa. I do some part-time work for a government agency, and we got shut down during the COVID, and then we opened back up to do some work before opening back up for the public. The first thing they said was, if you have been feeling that you need to talk to someone, we have a therapist, because even in this time during the Rona, people have been isolated, and for some people, this is between the shutdown, stay in place, not seeing your family. In many cases, people have lost family members, can't go to the hospital, can't go to the hospice. This forced isolation for a lot of people has brought people to challenge their mental health.
Exactly.
And so they said, if you need to talk to someone, please go and seek the services. Now, when we hear about school shootings and maybe workplace shootings, we hear from the news reporter that there will be someone on site to take care of the employees or whatever. But what about our day-to-day lives? And I wrote down, these things are not normal. Violence is not normal. Shootings, domestic violence, seeing death in your neighborhood all the time, going to funerals, molestation, what Lady Nyca was talking about, just the ongoing emotional trauma of poverty, our children who are food deprived or food, you know, going through hunger, not having the tools to communicate, those things need therapy. We have a lot of people walking around very, very angry and not having the emotional self-control or the tools to deal with anger management or conflict resolution. You can tie it up in a little bow and the hair be laid and nails look nice, but they're one word from popping off. And
Thank you for
that
saying that.
needs
You're
therapy.
absolutely correct. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes. I said
Yeah.
you're so right, Miss Sean, because that was me when my brother was murdered. It was like every time you could say boo to me and I would just cuss you out. If I wasn't cussing you out, if I wasn't crying, if I was just one big mess. And you're right. Everything you're saying is absolutely correct.
And
I'm just
I
agreeing
try
with you.
I try to, thank you. I try to illustrate this for a lot of people as, think about when you're in a pool and you're playing with the big beach ball, right? And one of the fun things you like to do as a kid is you get the beach ball and you take it and you push it down. You try to figure out how far down you can push it down. But you want to know something about the beach ball? It always pops back up. Always. And it pops up with force. So whatever pressure you put down on that beach ball, it comes up, and it comes up with force. And I always say that is unresolved trauma, unresolved anger, all of that.
Mhm.
And it comes out not only um with full force, but in inappropriate ways. And you'll see this. You've probably experienced, like, you'll say something and you're wondering, the reaction doesn't fit the situation. The response doesn't fit. And then I wanted to end with something I've been following Ricky Smiley, and he was talking today. I don't know, maybe it was today, but I've been watching him. You know, his daughter got shot, and he was in his car having a breakdown, and I was so I was just I was there with him because he was saying, and I'm sure we've all experienced it. What he was saying is his daughter got shot. He's getting he's getting his ex-wife to his daughter. He's getting the grandparents to his daughter. He's getting everybody in place to see his daughter. He's making sure everybody's good. He's answering phone calls, sending little emojis, letting everybody know, thank you for your thoughts and all that. And he's doing these news reports because people want to know. He's a celebrity. How's everybody doing? And finally, while his daughter's good, everyone's good, it hits him. And he says, even though it's been days, he's been running around making sure everyone else is okay. But it hits him at that moment. My baby girl just got shot. And he said, I'm going to go see a therapist, because he said that at that moment, he's trying to do a show, and it felt like his daughter got shot at that moment. So all those emotions are hitting him. And not only that, but he said his daughter's shooting triggered him from when he got shot in 1995. So now he has to go. He's like, I got to go see a therapist because I got to work some things out. So yes, when you have things that are chemical imbalances, yes, but you need to see a doctor. But there are things in your day-to-day life that goes on. A divorce, losing your child having a chronic illness. You're taking care of aging parents. You're dealing with life stuff, and it's beyond sometimes having a cocktail with a girlfriend. Sometimes you need to sit and work some things out. That's what
I will tell you this too. It scares you when you think about having children of your own, when you have that family history. Because I only have one child and I didn't have her until I was 36. But the whole time I kept thinking, after watching my brother and knowing what I've gone through, do you want to bring a child into this world if there's a chance that something like that could happen? Like I said, my family, we've learned to have a sense of humor about it. So I was joking with my husband, because at the time we were married, and I said, what you got going on in your family background? Because I'm 50% nut. If you got a 50% nut, we're gonna have 100% fool if we have a child. It off, but it's like, it's serious though. I was asking, like, what's your family history? I need to know.
That's important to know. It's important.
Definitely.
And still, I can be hyper vigilant sometimes with my daughter, because I'm asking her, "Are you okay? Is everything all right? What's wrong?" You want to know ahead of time, and it's like that'll stress you too.
It will. And that's what I was saying about my son, because I know he has the history. Even though my son has really, really, because I got him the treatment, he's not on medication or anything. From time to time, he displays a little bit of his anger issues. But far as his bipolar, he doesn't really do any of that. But every now and then he goes into, I feel, where he's super emotional. And I have to tell him, and our thing is, snap out of it, get out of it, stop acting like a baby. But for him, it's not that simple to say that to him. And I have to realize that, because one time I was talking to Nika about it. And Nika was like, you want to bust him upside his head? I said, yeah, I would bust him upside his head, but it wouldn't work for him, because right now he's on one of his emotional, he's going to have to get it out of it himself. And I learned that because when I was going through my depression with my brother, and then, like you said, Mr. Shine, I have a daughter who has cancer, and I have cancer. So I felt like I had the weight of the world on me at one time. I felt like depression, I was so going through so much. I don't even know if there's a word for beyond depression. I don't know what I had, but I had to sit down and I had to take time. And I thank God that I have friends like Nika to help me through that. My sister is an MD. She helps me. You know, I have people that I can talk to, and I did take advantage of my EAP program at my job. I go, I go to therapy. I go to I see a psychiatrist twice once every 2 months. And I used to be ashamed to say these things, but I'm not ashamed because if I can help somebody else go through what I help them not go through what I went through, I'm more than happy to discuss it. So I just wanted to share that. You're absolutely
Can
right, correct, lady.
I was gonna say,
can
and
I say something?
don't feel
I want to
bad.
give Miss an opportunity to talk because I ain't really heard much from her, and I really wanted her to weigh in on this topic, what she wanted to say about it, and also after that, Miss T. Velocity, I want to ask you a question in relation to mental illness and see what you think about it. But if you got anything you want to add on to what they've been saying, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'm
Unmute, Miss Velocity.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I see it quite a bit. The main thing that I want to just elaborate on is so important though, and we'll talk about this later, that people recognize the signs and what's causing some of the mental illness in order for them to go get help. See, I don't think you recognize the sign because a lot of us was told to be strong, and a lot of things in the Black community swept under the carpet, you know. So I just want to make sure before we leave here tonight that we focus on sometime the signs of mental illness so you can see the very beginning and try to seek help because there is resources out there. That's all I wanted to talk about. Make sure that I expound on getting help because a lot of times we don't know. I remember one time I was working and I worked like 7 12-hour shifts, and I would go home and I would go to sleep and I would sleep the whole day, but I would get up, prepare myself, and work another 12-hour shift. And so my children had left home, so I was by myself. So I was talking to one of the therapists one day and we were sitting there and he said, "You know what? I think you're depressed." I said, "Depressed?" I said, "Nothing's wrong with me." He said, "Yeah, you are depressed." He said, "That's a sign of depression because I dove into work and I worked hours after, hours upon hours and just sleeping out and didn't do anything else. And so I had encompassed myself with just working because of the void I had was my children. So that was a sign of depression, but I didn't realize it and I didn't have to get help because once I was alerted to what was going on, I dealt with it. That was a sign of depression. That's the only experience I've ever had in reference to myself. So
Okay, and that might what I'm finna ask you about it may actually segue into the science because I that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm noticing that a lot of our stories, at least my story, I'll speak on my story. I didn't realize that anything was wrong because nobody in my family felt like anything was wrong. We were all melting together in all of this dysfunction together. So it looked like it wasn't us, it was other people. So what I was wondering was, do you think that that is a lot of the problems in a lot of people cases is that they don't know that they're actually not on task. They don't know that something is wrong because in your everyday life around your family and friends, y'all all do the same thing. Not realizing that all of us may have a little of it in us.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
So
I
what do you think? what are some signs that we would be looking for or people should pay attention to? Because when you live in every day and you don't realize it because everything seems normal in your household for it to be that way. Y'all are not functioning well at all. Y'all actually quite dysfunctional. But when you grow up under that, it becomes your norm, and you don't know how to move beyond that. So, what do you think some of the signs that people should be looking for if you think something could be wrong? Some in this talk, somebody may hear something that they didn't even know was
Wow.
a sign.
Yeah, that's deep because there's so many signs. But one that I think people neglect to pay attention to is highs and lows, and not being able to communicate with people, not being able to be sociable. That right there. Those are a couple of signs. Your highs and your lows, not being able to socialize, impulse, impulsivity. Yeah, impulsivity. Um, let's see. Oh, it's just like tons of them, but the ones that we tend to really ignore is the highs and the lows, and not being able to socialize with people a lot of time. And so you ignore that something is wrong. And I think you spoke on that earlier. One day you're happy, the next day you're sad. One day you could talk and you communicate with someone, the next minute you can't, and it's just up and down, up and down. Your mind is up and down and everywhere. And you're so impulsive because you're so anxious that you don't even realize that you are suffering from it has to be diagnosed somewhat a kind of bipolarism, if I dare to say. And because I can't diagnose anybody here, I'm not saying, but those are just signs. Those are just signs. Always anxious, impulsive, happy one minute, sad one minute, not being able to talk to people. It's so many signs. I'll try to get some of them before we leave, though, because I did do a little research to make sure.
Can I?
Sure. Go ahead. I'm done.
Can I speak on that?
Yeah.
For me, like I said, I have major depressive disorder. Was horrible. I really wanted to live everybody for no apparent reason. I would get mad at people for no apparent reason. Could everybody hear me? Okay. Y'all hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. I really wanted to fight for no reason. And this is part of how I was diagnosed. And I can say that, or I want people to understand about major depression. Even though you have it, you got your chemical imbalance, you're taking your medicine, there are things that can also come into play that can make you still be depressed over something. My mother died 3 years ago on June, and we had our funeral on I think the 17th of June. Every year I get torn up about it. I'm still not good. My mother's not here. This year was especially hard. We were extremely close. My birthday was June 21st. And that's always hard for me because she's not here. And that's the one gift that I would just love to get back, is even if I could just see her for one more minute. And the thing about my birthday this year is that she wasn't, not only was she not here, but I only had 3 people get in touch with me to tell me happy birthday. And I was really hurt. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have cared if my mother was here. But since I did not have her here, I just felt so alone and like I didn't have any kind of support. My sister died last year on July the 7th. So I already suffer from depression. And then you put these others in my way and it makes it worse. For this whole month, I literally got up in the morning, took a shower, and got back into bed. I haven't done anything. I did manage to do a load of clothes. And I know people probably get their keys off of this. But I just want to say this too. Sometimes people come to this YouTube to be entertained, to never know what somebody's going through. When you start reading under their clothes and talking about their teeth, their hair, their wig, you never know what a person is going through. And people need to keep that in mind. I'm not saying that people should bend over backwards, but sometimes, please, keep it in mind that people do go through things. And I know realistically, I won't get my mother back. I won't get my sister back. I know all of these things. I'll never get my birthday back from June. I can move forward and I will move forward. But please realize, even though someone suffers from depression, there could be other factors going around them that they just can't be medicated for. And that really would depress them. And I'm working on it. I'm getting a little bit better as time has gone by. But the summertime has been hell for me this year. Total hell. And I did not mean to take this off a topic and to go left, but it just was kind of hurting me a bit. And I wanted to just I just want to let it out. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Let it out. Let it out.
I'm sorry.
I have a question for you. I have a question for you, Blue Lotus, when you get yourself together, honey. Take your time. That's what we're here for. We're not in here to judge or to drag or anything like that. This is a much needed conversation. Take your time.
That's right. And don't worry about nobody about anything. You have nothing to be ashamed of.
Nothing.
You are human and you're going through something and you're hurting.
And this is a mature panel. Blue Lotus, I'd like to ask you a question though, because it sounds like sometimes you are
yes.
Well, let me just say it like this. It appears to me that you are suffering in silence, even though you have your medication, you have your therapy. During the time, the 21st, the time you're talking about, did you surround yourself with any type of counseling during this period?
No.
When you have these low periods, do you reach out to
counselors?
No. And can I ask you why not? Because
I'm too stubborn.
Okay.
Because I'm still in my own head. I'm still thinking, no, that's not me. That just give me the pills and let me go on my way.
No, there's more to therapy.
I don't want it.
Mental illness. There's more to therapy for mental illness than just medication. It's an ongoing process. It's like a person, a Narcotics Anonymous person, an Alcohol Anonymous. It's an everyday process. And when you feel like that, you should reach out for counseling. And I don't know if you go to group therapy or anything like that, but go ahead. See, because you're saying that
I actually know. I
didn't hear you. Sorry.
I really actually did that, and I know I should do it because my degree is in behavioral sciences, so I know better.
Okay.
But it's still embarrassing for me to even discuss with even a counselor.
But that's a neutral party. Someone that really
I just honestly feel embarrassed. I really do.
All right.
Would it be better if someone talked to you that was not a counselor, like another? Do you have another female counterpart or a friend that you can call and talk to?
I, t- I talked to my sister. I still have one sister left. Well, I have two sisters
Okay.
left.
Okay.
And how are they
But
with you? Are
I just, I
are
mean,
they helpful?
yes. And
Okay.
then keep in mind with this coronavirus, I've been quarantined since January because I started
Makes it
getting sick.
worse. That makes it worse. It does. It induces more stress
Yeah.
and stuff on you.
So
Trigger.
there's just and my nieces and my nephew, they had moved, so it's just me and my cat here. I go to the grocery store and to the pharmacy every month, and that's it.
Wow. Okay. It.
I'm sorry, Lady Nika.
No.
No.
No. Don't be sorry. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be sorry. We all are mature people and suffering with mental illness. I take some of you all. I haven't, to that extent. But it's so important, sweetheart, because it's so important for you to reach out to someone and reach out to someone soon. It is soon. I don't know your financial situation, your health insurance situation, but it's imperative the way you talk, the way you're talking, someone, don't be embarrassed. That's their job. You'd be surprised. You're not in this thing by yourself, love, but you need to speak with someone. It sounds like you're suffering again right now, even with the medication. You're suffering because you need that social aspect of it, sweetheart. That's it's okay.
It's okay, Blue Bell. It's okay.
Let it out. Get it out.
I'm so sorry, Lady Nika.
It's okay. Just how we right here with you. Ain't nobody going nowhere. We right here. And this is a non-judgmental zone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'll mute myself now.
Yeah.
No, you keep talking because that's what you need to do. You always run, Blue Lotus. You don't have to close yourself off. I don't have the answers, but I can tell you this much based off what I've been through.
Right.
You have to talk to somebody.
Have to.
You're gonna have to talk to somebody. The medications alone is not helping, and the fact that you're inside that house all the time is making it worse. So if you need a moment to cry on this thing, you feel free to do so because you're surrounded by nothing but people who have your best interests at heart.
And
It is
isolation
okay.
is not your friend.
Oh,
If anybody wants,
Isolation is not your friend. I've been looking at Andrea. She's been dropping a lot of great nuggets of
yeah.
information about signs. And I will tell you this, Blue Lotus, to share, is that along with, we also have to be honest of who we are as individuals, okay? And for me, with my personality, I've never been one to, when I internalize stuff. That's my personality. I'm never one to go popping off at someone. I'll take it inward. Okay, so a lot of times no one will really know how upset I am, how angry I am, because I don't do it externally. I do it internally. But that comes at a detriment. And so a lot of times when I'm going through things, they talk about the fight or flight. I fly.
Right.
I'm out. I go away. I isolate. And it wasn't until I went through therapy that I realized that isolating myself made me go down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
because you withdraw and you're left to your own voices. And I'm not talking about clinical voices. I'm talking about the things that you tell yourself over
Right.
and over, those mental tapes, and we all have them. I don't care
Mhm.
how far you are on Maslow hierarchy of needs. We
Right.
all have those mental tapes in our head that we tell ourselves when we're by ourselves, and those tapes get louder and they play more and more when you're by yourself. And so we're just reaching out to you because you do need to reach out. And I lost my mother, and it'll be 8 years in August. And for the first few years, I didn't even know how upset I was about it until someone said something. Because that month of August, I would be melancholy. I would just be going through the motions. And then someone mentioned to me, you're not looking yourself. And it dawned on me, it was the anniversary of my mother's passing.
Mm.
And I went through those years. And then one year, August came, and it was like I could I could mourn, but not feel so heavy and so sad. But that's a process. If it means, going to a grief counselor where you're with other people, you don't necessarily have to do one-on-one. I know, like in my city, you can the hospitals have those type of things that are open for a small amount of money. So you don't necessarily have to go to a private counselor. A lot of hospitals offer, counseling for people who are going through a divorce, newly single, going through a loss, dealing with
Depression.
cancer and depression. So
Mhm.
please go and
Reach
try to
out.
find those resources, because being isolated is not what you want to do. That is not going to get you closer to having good health. And you are a beautiful woman. We can tell that. And I just want to see you get someone help. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have good health. You should, just like Lady Nika said, we want to make sure that our body's right, our eyes are right, our cholesterol's right. We want you to get here right. And it's okay to be sad, but you need to not stay by yourself.
That's
Get a
right.
teleconference. We know that you can't get out, but just like we're talking to each other now, it could be with a counselor.
And you
That-
know what? I completely agree with everything you just said, Sean, because when you were talking about the voices that you keep having these thoughts, and I tell people all the time, because I stay I try to stay super busy, because I tell them when my mind is idle, it just goes to bad places. And then it's like, the commercial they used to show on TV with the person with the little fan with the smiley face. A lot of times you want to stay at home, because when you go out, you got to pretend everything is okay, because you don't want people worrying about you or asking you questions. So you
Yeah.
just like, oh, I'm fine. But sometimes you just don't have the energy for that. And like Blue Lotus said, you just keep to yourself. But that doesn't help either. But it's like it just zaps all the energy out of you. Like these days that before I had a child, I wouldn't go to work for 2 or 3 days. I just lay in bed and calling in sick, because I just didn't feel like facing nobody.
Those are signs. Yeah. Blue Lotus, have you when you do know resources though? You have resources for you to go to grief counsel. Am I Blue Lotus? Do you
Yes,
have reach?
yeah, I do.
You do. You just haven't been in a long time.
Well, I was gonna say,
I
Blue Lotus,
I won't I won't go. I don't want.
oh,
Well, Sean said something that they're doing really with this corona thing, and it's becoming a big thing, is you can have counseling over the phone. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a matter of you reaching out, talking to someone to listen.
That's how I see my psychiatrist,
Yeah.
because she's still in
Go
Florida.
through the phone. Yeah, they do teleconferences now, telecounseling now. So maybe
Because
you can reach out to someone that way. I don't know.
my thing was, and it's hard to find a
Yeah,
counselor.
I mean, all of this stuff.
Go ahead, Blue Lotus.
I mean, grief hospice did offer me counseling for free. I've always been a strong person, so it's just hard for me to admit that I'm weak.
We need to burn that. We need to
And
burn that.
and
Your problem. That's your problem. I've always been a strong person. Listen to
Yep,
what you
that's
just
it.
said. I've always been a strong person. Have you? Have you? Are you? Are you? Have you? Yeah, I think you need to get rid of that. I've
yeah,
always been a strong person, so I don't really need to reach out because that's again, those are people
That's
who
where the
know
stigma.
something. The
Right.
stigma,
Sweetie, if you fell down the stairs and you had a broken bone sitting out, no one would say, "I'm so strong to walk." We would lift that. We would take care of that leg. We'd bandage it and we would heal it.
feel it.
We would not say if you got a bone sticking out of your leg. We wouldn't say, "I'm so strong to walk on it." We wouldn't do that. And we
You
need
will
to
go get help
treat our mental health the same way.
the same way because it will eventually destroy your body. If you're sick mentally, then you'll become sick physically. So, but that's it.
And Blue Lotus, you have to understand. You always tell
yeah,
me
I,
I'm
I
so strong
understand,
too,
and I appreciate.
but you gotta understand that going to get help doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you're wise enough to realize something is not right, and
Right,
you have courage enough
And
right.
to
that's good.
go
Yeah.
and fix it. It is no harm in going. I just said it at the beginning of the live. I said the brain is just like any other organ in the body. It tends to sometimes malfunction, and we have to be wise enough to know that going to get it fixed is not a sign of weakness. You have a lot of grief still inside of you. You are existent. And I want by the end of this live, hopefully you'll want to actually live because there's a difference between living and just simply existing. I need you to start living. And a part of living may be that you need to go talk to someone, and it's not a sign of weakness. You're not alone. You got contact with a lot of people, myself included, who will talk to you. I don't mind Blue Lotus, but it troubles me to know that you carrying this weight, sis. You don't have to do it. You don't have to carry this so much, all this on you. There are resources available to help you.
Oh, that's just
And going to open your heart. You just opened your heart to 52 people. You don't know these people. Why not go sit down or talk? Because there's a lot of things going on. I just told you I do Zoom with my counselor because it get heavy. And sometimes I gotta stop. I gotta take care of me so that I can be the best me that I can be, so that I can be here for the people I love. But right now, you're somebody got a window open.
I think it's
Oh, okay.
well, ladies. We don't want you, Blue Lotus. We don't want you to feel like we're telling you what to do, sweetheart. So for that reason alone, I am going to just allow you to just do you. I just don't want you to feel like we're, you know, ganging up on you or not ganging up
Oh,
in that.
I don't.
Okay, sweetheart. I just want you to feel comfortable and you express to us. And for that reason alone, I'm just going to back off a little bit, asking questions, you know. But you go ahead.
I, I'm sorry, my sound had went out and I couldn't hear. My sound went out and I couldn't hear anything for a few minutes.
Okay. All right.
So I
Go
don't.
ahead,
I don't
baby.
know if you said anything.
No, I was just saying I don't want you to feel pressure. I wish you
She
well.
said,
I don't want you to, you know how sometimes people could feel pressure. That's all I was saying. And I don't want you to feel that way. You just express yourself. And if I could be of any help, you let me know, okay? But you see, I just don't want to do that. Okay? Go ahead, Blue Lotus Elite.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Okay. I just don't want you to feel
I
hurt.
appreciate it. And sometimes that's what people need. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who's like, sometimes even though you know what you have a problem and you know what it is, sometimes you need just that person who's going to force you into taking accountability, I guess.
Okay.
So, that's I can kind of feel that from you. You know what I mean. I don't feel like you're pushing me into anything. I just feel like you're trying to help me and take accountability and basically just own it, just get help. I understand. You're not offending me at all.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Right. Okay. Lady Nika, you can go ahead. I'm finished.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure again that we did make you feel pressure because you shared something very near, something very private, and I just want you to know going forward, I'm available if you need someone to talk to because I remember being where you are, and I didn't have anybody that was willing to reach out to me. So if ever you feel the need or want to, I'm here for you. At this time, I just want to kind of bring it to a close because I'm gonna let all of the ladies have their final words, get their final points out that they would like to. But I don't want to do too much on this because this is very deep. I just want to handle this with some responsibility about myself. So I'm gonna get ready to let all of the ladies have their final words, whatever they want to say, and then we're gonna bring it to an end. We'll start with you, Miss Sean, and I ask everybody, please go on mute while each person is speaking because we're still getting feedback, and I don't know what that's from. So we're gonna start with you, Miss Sean. Then we'll go to Blue Lotus. Miss T. Velocity, I want you to be the last one to speak, if you don't mind.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just the last person. I'm gonna let everybody else speak.
Okay.
Miss Melissa, I'm gonna let you speak right after Sean, and then Blue. I want it to be Miss Sean, Miss Melissa, Blue Lotus, Lady Detroit, and then Miss T Velocity, if you guys don't mind. And you have the floor. You can say whatever it is you need to say in as you sum it up for yourself. Okay. So go ahead, Miss Sean.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me on the panel. Thank you, ladies. And I appreciate the time. I found a lot of great information on the NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Really, it was just a break touch of just a tip of the iceberg, but mental illness, we didn't even cover, how suicide affect men. We didn't talk about how they say that 70% or over 70% of the juveniles that are in the system have mental illness. We didn't touch about suicide and how that deals with our, we have a lot of our people who are in transgender and the LGBTQIA community and how that's affected with mental illness. So there's a big vast that deserves more than just an hour, but I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for all the ladies sharing their own experiences. I mean, it's a tough subject, and it's not easy talking about, things that it's life that we've gone through. But I did look up blacktherapistnetwork.com for those who want to seek therapists in their neighborhood that might feel more comfortable. And they also have it, I believe, even with faith-based. And then there's one I saw, the therapyforblackgirls.com, because unfortunately, even though we deal with socioeconomic disparities, that a lot of times many of us feel that some counselors don't understand where we're coming from as a culture. And sometimes there are cultural barriers. So for those of us who might want to feel more comfortable, I want to give those two references. And just that, just it's just not something to take lightly, and I guess we just can't keep reiterating it more. You know, your brain can only last but what, 5 minutes of oxygen at the most before all systems shut down. You can't breathe, you can't think, you can't blink. I was doing some research on even fetal alcohol syndrome and how, and shaken baby syndrome, and how the brain gets affected by trauma. Okay. So we're dealing with people that have disorders of all types, whether it's chemical imbalances, something in utero, and these are people that we work with, that we shop near. I mean, it's we can't ignore that mental health is a human existent thing, and that if we start making it more of a people thing and not a stigma thing, I think we will do better off not only treating ourselves better, but treating our families and people around us. So that's what I want to end it with. Thank you, Lady Nika.
That was the first thing I was going to say. Thank you, Lady Nika. Really? Y'all get feedback? Okay. I want to say thank you to Lady Nika for allowing me to be a part of the panel. I'm usually a pretty quiet person that falls in the back, and blends in the background, but this topic, like I said, very near and dear to me. Blue Lotus, I will be sending positive vibes your way and hoping that you get to, and it's, I want to say feeling better, but it's not exactly the same thing. But I will be sending positivity your way and hoping that things get better for you. And I just want to say to everybody that's listening, if you feel like something's not right, go check it out. And then another thing I want to say is, like, sometimes when we go to therapists, that first person may not be the best match for you, but don't give up on therapy altogether just because you and that doctor or that psychologist or whatever didn't click. So just give it a chance. And at first it might seem like it's not working, but sometimes you gotta try something 2 or 3 times before you see results. So thank you, Miss Lady Nika.
Is it my turn?
You're well. You ready, or you want Lady Detroit to go and give you a couple of more minutes?
I can go.
Okay, you can speak then.
Oh,
Floor is
okay.
yours.
Okay. First, I want to make sure everybody knows that toward the end, when everybody was talking to me, my sound went and I couldn't hear what anybody was saying. I want to I want to once again apologize to the panel and to the chat. And I didn't mean for this to go so far left, but for some odd, strange reason, I feel like something's been lifted off of me. I mean, it feels really weird, but it feels like something's been lifted off of me. But I appreciate you, Lady Nika, for having me. I appreciate you, ladies, for speaking with me and not making me feel dumb or ashamed. Um, I really hope that something like this could be done a little more often, maybe quarterly or something, because there are still some mental health issues that we need to talk about as for Black people as a whole, especially these months coming ahead, because I really think that things are going to get worse for us as far as the virus and everything before they get better. But once again, I want to thank you, Lady Nika. I thank the panel for listening to me, for your encouraging and positive words. I thank the chat for the positive feedback and everything that they were giving me. And once again, please, I meant no disrespect. I didn't want to disrespect the panel or anything with my issues. So thank you.
There was no disrespect involved at all. You don't have to apologize for nothing, girl, because that's what we're here for. So you did just fine. You got out some of what you need to get out. I'll wrap that up in a pretty little bow in a few minutes. You could go ahead, Miss Lady Detroit.
First and foremost, I would like to thank my bestie once again.
Simone.
Can you hear me? Nika, can you ladies hear me?
I hear you. I hear you.
I
I'm
hear
going
you.
on mute so you can.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to thank you again for having me on the panel. Also, I would like to thank the ladies who participated on the panel. Ms. Sean, I'd like to thank you for the numbers and all the statistics. And basically, unfortunately, mental health is such a broad spectrum. In an hour and a half, we're not going to get and hit every subject in it. But hopefully, this is a start, and maybe we can start something where once a month we can come on, or however Nika wants to do it. And we can hit different topics because I think this is something that's very important. And like Blue Lotus said, I think with the upcoming months and what's going on with COVID, in a minute, we're going to all be back in our homes again once pretty soon. With the uptick and everything else that's going on. I would like to thank you, Melissa, for coming on, sharing your story. You said you normally sit in the back. That was so brave of you. And I want to let you know I am so proud of you because I know it's hard. And Blue Lotus, you have nothing to apologize for, and you have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm talking to you as a human being and as a person who I'm like you. I have many issues. Within the past 6 years, was diagnosed with cancer. My cancer came back. My child was diagnosed with cancer, and my brother was murdered several years ago. So I understand your pain and heartache, and that's why we're just expressing to you, just please go seek some help. And if you don't want to seek some help, try to find someone that you can talk to. I don't want to lecture you or make this about you because I don't want you to feel embarrassed ever. Because if anything, I'm the one I have a lot going on. But maybe from this, we can maybe start a sisters network, a sisters something to help one another. Maybe from this, we can work on and move and do something greater with this. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming on here. I have learned so much from everyone. Miss T Velocity, your patience, your counseling, your advice, I really appreciate a lot of things you said. And you guys are awesome. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on a panel with you lovely ladies.
All right, Miss T. Velocity, what is yours, Miss T. Velocity?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me? Thank you so much, Lady Nika, for having me on this panel. I've enjoyed myself. I want to just piggyback off of what Sean said. There are so many topics under mental illness. Of course, we couldn't cover them. We didn't even really hit the tip of the iceberg. But what we do know is that it was purpose. Now, we may not see what the purpose was tonight, but I believe that somewhere down the line, we'll see what the purpose was. No, we didn't cover a vast majority of the stuff, but that's okay. You don't rush. So hopefully we could join each other again, and we'll select a topic. But we did allow Blue Lotus to express how she felt, and I think we were purposed here to listen to her. Now, I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you'll invite me back again. It's so important. It's so important for us to recognize. And Sean, I guess I'm directing this to you because I know that you have mentioned several topics under the umbrella of mental health. And hopefully we can hit some of those topics another day and another time. But right now, I really thank you, Lady Nika, for having us. And I just hope that we was here to listen. listen and learn something and be of help to someone. Someone in this chat, including on this panel, got something from this. So nothing was in vain. I want to make sure we say that. But if you feel some kind of way, if you feel some kind of something ain't right with you mentally, and you find yourself going into a depression or a slump, seek out to talk to someone. Just seek someone out that can help you. But Melissa stated it, and I'm gonna wrap it up. Melissa stated early, as well as Blue Lotus. A lot of times you don't even feel like getting up, going out. So my suggestion for you, when you don't feel like getting up, going out, is to just open the window. Sunshine and sunlight makes a difference. Darkness deepens depression. So if you don't feel like going outside, just pop you on some music and open your curtains, your shades or something, and let some of that sunlight, natural sunlight, come in. And to a certain degree, it may make you feel a little better. Just don't let yourself go into deep depression. And I know it's difficult, but reach out to somebody that can give you tools to help you work with it. And that's it for me. Thank you. My producer was putting some, Andrea, my producer was in here, and she was dropping some really good nuggets. And she also reached out and had resources. That's my producer, Andrea, for my channel, Jim's Talk. And Lady Nyca, I would hope I can invite you all over to my new Jim's Talk one day, and I'll get a hold to you guys. We'll get your emails and stuff and try to reach out to you. I really thank you, Lady Nyca, for having me on here. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody for coming down and dropping the parts at this time. This is, I'm going to sum it up and we're going to get up out of here. This was something new, guys. This was something new for me. I didn't know how to attack this subject because there are so many aspects to mental illness, and I didn't really have everything together. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I didn't know how to attack this subject.
Lady,
but I think
your voice.
The spirit led me the way I need to go. I got it. Again, okay, let me go out and come on back in because I'm gonna do this.
You gotta be ready for your finale, Lady Nyca.
Yeah.
She's gonna bring it all
home. Miss Andrea, can you please drop my email, please, for me? I think you're my only mod and my producer here. My email, please, so I can give it to Sean and them. Go ahead, Lady Nyca. We was just holding it down till you came back.
Okay. Thank y'all for holding it down, child. These texts, I don't know what's going on. Can y'all see me? Is it am I back? Am I back? Okay, I'm back. All right. Thank y'all for coming. I didn't know where I was going with this, and this has led me to work. Now I am dedicated because y'all so many aspects back again. And I'm gonna try to grab these ladies at the same panel. I'm gonna pull up some more people to come in. Because you may email some info. So I'm gonna email you. Does it sound better, y'all? Again? Hold on.
Well, in the
maybe some people need to drop off. I'm gonna drop off.
You drop off. Well, in the meantime, please, you all, so we could continue. You coming back? I was about to hold it down. You coming back? You good, Lady Nyca?
I think I am. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, it's better. It's better. It's better.
You can okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I apologize. Y'all know how it is around here with this. Sometimes it don't work right, but I'm determined to talk until I get it right. Thank everybody for coming. Not, I didn't know how this was gonna turn out, but now it's got me more determined to come through again. So we'll come back, and I will try to put as many ladies in for this live. The next live that we will do. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. And because I'm having so many sound problems, I'm gonna get out of here now. But thank y'all for coming. I will see you guys on the next live or the next upload. And I thank everybody for coming. Thank y'all. I'm sorry about the text, but I apologize. I will do better. This is just the beginning. Thank y'all.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Okay. Is it still bad, y'all? I know everybody gone. Mm. Okay. I'll be live in give me about 10 minutes. I'm coming back. I need to talk to y'all. So I'll be right back. I'll be back.